Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video I'm going to be sharing my favourite books of 2020. So I didn't have a lot of like top favourites, but these are like my favourites of 2020. So I'm going to try my best to tell you what they're about. I'm not great at that because somehow I just forget. But I'll try and share a bit with you about what each book is about, and about the story, with no spoilers. So I'm just going to jump right into it and go in with the first books, which is actually a series, and I couldn't pick one book, so I just went for the full series, and that is Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare. I think this might be my favourite book in the world right now. So we've got Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess. And in this series we follow a girl named Tessa who is coming to London from America. It's set in 18 something and she's coming from London, in Victorian London, and she's coming from America to London, and right off the boat from America she gets kidnapped, and yeah, that's pretty much what happens. She gets kidnapped and then she gets brought into the world of shadow hunters somehow. If you read the books you'll know how. I don't want to say in case it is a spoiler, but yeah, that's what happens. She gets kidnapped straight off the boat. Oh, there's so much drama. Yeah, read this series. If you haven't, you probably already have, but if you haven't, 100% read this series because it's my favourite thing in the world right now. So yeah, I'll just get the next series over and done with because, you know. So the next series is a graphic novel series that I read for the first time in 2020, and that is Heartstopper. I read all three in 2020. I ordered just the first one because I didn't know if I'd like it, but then I decided I loved it after the first one and I got the second two. And I read them and I was obsessed. I love Nick, I love Charlie, I love everything. So in these books we follow Charlie and Nick, who have a little romance, and yeah, it's just about their romance. I think everybody knows what this is about. Yeah, I love all of these books. So yeah, they're my next favourite books of 2020. So yeah, the next book I'm going to talk about is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book was amazing. So this is written in verse and it's about a girl who lives in the Dominican, and then a girl with her dad, and then a girl who lives in, I think it's New York, with her mum and her dad, but when their dad dies in a plane crash, they find out that they're sisters and their dad's been living this double life, which is crazy. But yeah, that's what it's about, and it's about them sort of discovering that they're sisters and like trying to bond and like glue the family back together, because their whole life has basically been a little bit of a lie. So yeah, this is really good, and there's like side stories in this that are like so important. Like, who is it? I think it's Camino that's got like, she was the one that I honestly felt for so much in this. So yeah, I love this book and I will definitely reread this in 2020. Also, it's a really quick read because like it's all written in verse, so like there's not even that many words on a page. It literally took me like, I don't know, about 3 hours to read it, which is because I'm a pretty slow reader. But yeah, Clapwing in Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, I'd 100% recommend. The next book I'm going to talk about is Harrow Lake. So, Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis. Oh my god, I went into this thinking I was going to hate it, thinking it was going to be scary, thinking I was just going to be terrified, and it is a little bit creepy. This guy here, he is creep central. He actually, nah, I can live without him. But honestly, it made this story really good. I kept thinking during this story, like, where's this gonna go? Like, what's happening? Because like, there was no like definite answer, but it always kept me intrigued. So in this book we follow Lola, whose dad is a film director, and he created a film in Harrow Lake, and something happens to her dad, and she gets sent to Harrow Lake to live with her grandma, where the horror film has been set. And during the filming of the horror film, somebody died. So yeah, and then she finds out that there's more to the story than, you know, there's more to the story, and that her mum's involved in like the whole story. Yeah, I love this book. The grandma was like super weird. Yeah, I love this book, and I want to reread this in 2021. But I also have the TBR the size of, I don't know, so I don't know if I'll get to reread this, but it's definitely a book that I do want to reread. So yeah. We're on to the last 2 books. The next book I'm going to talk about is Half a World Away by Mike Gale. This book broke my heart. Like, I went into this book thinking it's going to be a cute, like, family drama. So let me tell you about what this book is about first. So in this book we follow Kerry and Noah, who are siblings that were living happily together one day, and then they got taken into foster care and split up. Noah ended up getting adopted by a family. Kerry grew up in foster care, and then she got old enough to get out of the system. But Kerry's also a single mum. She got pregnant, and she's a single mum of, I think the kid's like 11 or 10. Yeah, and Kerry decides to try and track Noah down and find Noah, because he's her brother, and that's what it's about. It's about her trying to track him down and find him. And then when she finds him, you find out something. And yeah, this book, I cried for like a day after this book. Like, this book hit me personally because it's the thing that happens in this book happened in my life, and yeah, I cried for like a full day after this book. Yeah, it's really sad. So that's one thing I will say. If you're thinking about reading this, it is a really sad book, so make sure like you're prepared for that, because the sadness is real. This is probably the saddest. No, actually, I've only cried at like, I've cried at a lot of books, but the only like one with a reason is probably this one. But yeah, and I bought this literally for the front cover because it actually looks amazing. So yeah, and it is blurbed by Lisa Jewell. But yeah, it's blurbed by Lisa Jewell, and she said, his most accomplished and moving novel yet. But I definitely want to read more by Mike Gale. I'm so excited to see what he comes out with in the future, and I cannot wait to see what he comes out with. And I do want to go back and read all of his books that have been published. So yeah, I love my girl, and I definitely recommend you buy this if you can handle the sadness, which you probably will do. It was probably just me that cried, but yeah. The last book I'm going to talk about is a book that I was not expecting to love. Like, I bought this from a charity shop and I was like, oh, I'll get it because it sounds interesting, but I might not like it. And that is Undercover by Danielle Steele. In this book we follow Marshall Everett, who is an undercover DEA agent, and he's working in the drugs field. He's undercover working in drugs in... I actually can't remember where he works. It's like somewhere near Mexico where he's working in the drugs field, and he's undercover as an undercover agent called Pablo, but his actual name is Marshall. And he's a DEA agent, and I feel like I can tell you what happens at the start because that's not really a spoiler, but something incredibly sad happens at the start of this book. So he's undercover and the bosses are like trying to pull him out of like this undercover operation, and I'm not going to tell you what happens just because it might be a spoiler. But what happens is sad, and then it's like him trying to recover from that and trying to get over it, if he can even get over it. Yeah, this is really good. Also, it's like a dual perspective, this as well. So we follow Marshall, who is the DEA agent, and then we follow Ariana, who is she's like someone high up in politics' daughter. And we follow her and what happens to her. I can't say much about what happens to her, but yeah, she's pretty much, her mum's died and she's like trying to look after her dad the best she can. She puts her life on hold for her dad. So yeah, I love this book. I love this book. I love this book. Please read this book. Like, even if it doesn't sound interesting to you, read it, because this one surprised me and this made me fall in love with Danielle Steele. I now own 40 something of Danielle Steele's books, I think like 45 of Danielle Steele's books, just because of this one book. Like, that's how much I loved it. Like, I had to go out and buy all of her books. I love Danielle Steele so much, and I've only read, well actually I've read 2 books by her, but this one was like a whole other world. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one, and yeah, go and check this one out, because if there's any book I could recommend to you on here that I'd say please read, it'd be either this or the Clockwork series. If you've read the Clockwork series, please read this. I did try annotating this, so like there's like annotations in it, which I don't do that often. I just did it to this one because I thought, you know what, I'm gonna probably buy like 10 copies of this book, and I still intend to. So yeah, and I will be rereading this in 2021, and I will be annotating it, you can bet. So yeah, I love this, and I think it's going to be so good to annotate this every time I reread it, so that I can like put my thoughts in. It's going to be so good. But yeah, that's the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video, and they're all the books that I liked, loved, was obsessed with in 2020. Yeah, please read them, please read them. Yeah, so I'd recommend reading those if you want to. It's totally up to you. But yeah, they're all the books, and that's it for this video. So I'm gonna probably see you in another video. Thanks for watching. Comment down below if you've read any of these books. Definitely if you've read any of them, let's chat about them, because they're my favourite books. So 100% comment down below, let me know if you've read them, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.